Is. So with an audiobook, could I do a traditional, whether literature or history or philosophy? The answer is yes. For people who love and read and write poetry, could I actually do an audiobook that's poetry themed? The answer is yes. How about something that's more incorporating spoken word and elements of music? The answer is yes. And ultimately, when it comes to creating an audiobook, ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, is on you.
When you are starting out to determine the business that you want to start around your writing, I'm going to go through the basics of starting a business because we need to have that foundation in place before you actually get into the specifics of what it is that you're going to be doing. So the very first thing that you want to do is select your business entity's name. Determine what you want it to be based off of what it is that you're planning on doing. And then you want to check with your states or your domicile's Secretary of State office and check and see if that name has already been secured by another business. Because in the United States, two businesses with the exact same name cannot do business in the same state as a registered business. You can always have another name and doing business as, but you have to make sure that that name is not already taken in case you want to take the opportunity to choose another name. Also, you want to select whatever your business entity is going to be, whether it's
the Black voice. What does that mean for you? Leaving your mark. How are you here to leave that footprint that you've lived this life?
I'll say that for me, I guess with healing and wellness in the Black community, oftentimes therapy and mental illness and whatnot is very taboo to talk about. It's a little bit less now, but in our community, it's just giving you what happens in the house stays in the house. Or a lot of people don't open up about their traumas and fears and whatnot, or we just think that everything that's happening to us is normal. And so leaving my mark and writing my first two books, I've really been able to connect with other minority women and for people to hear, for me to hear that people have gone through some of the same things that I've gone through, and for them to say, thank you for not making me feel alone. Or I thought I was the only person that went through that, and after reading your book, I'm realizing that I'm not. I think it's such a beautiful thing. And I think that that's a huge testament to just the diversity of, I'll say, Black women specifically, because we go through so many things that we just carry on our shoulders and don't talk about. And my book has been able to connect me with a lot of those women and girls. And I think it's a beautiful thing that it's connecting our community across different states or different countries or whatever the case is, and that we can see that we go through a lot of the same things and that we're not carrying a burden by ourselves.
Right. I will say this, that my mother died when I was 8 years old. She died at the age of 26 to a homicide-suicide. And that is something that was extremely traumatic. My stepfather was actually the contributor to that event. And growing up, you always have questions. When you lose somebody that young in your life, you have questions about who they are, like, who is my mother? Who was she? Who was my stepfather? And different things like that. I could lean back on a lot of the people that had a lot to say about my mother. But the one thing that my stepfather did, despite the incident that happened, was he left a book behind. And he published a book at the age of 26 years old. And that gave me a lot of inspiration, because it's like you don't know when your day and time is. And so because of that, I have my own son. And when I think about, like, well, if I were to leave here today, where did I leave my mark? What will my community have to say about me? Like, what things will they have to fall back on? And one more thing was that my professor in college completely just shut me down one day. And I was talking about Plato, and I just thought I was the smartest person in the class. And he was like, is anybody studying your mind 2,000 years later? And I was like, well, no, they're not. And so because of that, I always thought that, well, how do I get somebody to study my mind 2,000 years later? And it's leaving our mark, and it's through writing. And so, there's a lot of other avenues, but go with what your gift is.
Okay, I plan on leaving my mark by educating, as well as just letting everyone know about endometriosis, especially Black females. feel like the disparity in healthcare is ridiculous. We're in 2021. It is still ridiculous. I have dealt with it myself. I know other women have dealt with it. So my whole goal is just to bring awareness and make sure that other Black females with endometriosis do not go through what I had to go through. It's not an easy road, and even if I help one person, I feel like I help less. Hopefully I help more, but as long as one woman does not have to wait 14 years to get her diagnosis for endometriosis, when on average it's 8 to 10 years, then I feel like I have left my mark, and that's what I try to do with writing, speaking, everything. That's how I plan to leave my legacy.